guys, welcome back to Crawl TV. We're in the middle of thunderstorms here, but we wanted to get this video pushed out today. We've got a cross-threaded lug stud on our back wheel, so we're going to show you how to replace that really quick. The first thing that we did, of course, is jack the back of the Jeep up. So we've got this rear tire suspended above the ground, and now we're just going to zip those other lugs off and pull this wheel off and get at it really quick. So we've got our impact here with our 19mm impact socket on it, and let's get this thing off of here. So we're actually going to be replacing this lug stud here. The other day I had this Jeep at the shop and we were actually balancing the wheels without the Dynabeads in them and then putting the Dynabeads back in to get it to ride a little bit smoother. Made a big difference, by the way, but as we were pulling the wheels off that day, this lug stud snapped, and we went ahead and replaced this one at the shop, and then as we were putting everything back together at the end of the day, this one hand tightened on, but as soon as we got the impact on it, it actually cross-threaded. So we just left the lug nut off of it, and we're going to show you how to replace it today. Alright, so we want to pull this whole assembly off at the same time so that we can slide this rotor drum off here on the back. So to take this entire assembly off, you have to just pull off the two bolts that hold this bracket on. The caliper will remain connected to that bracket. So there's a top one up here and then a lower one down here. They're both 18mm. That's what we've got here with our gear wrench. Go ahead and knock these off really quick. And once we get this thing off of the rotor, we want to be sure to set it so that we're not just dangling it from the brake hose itself, because that'll just add some extra stress that it doesn't need. So we'll get these things pulled out by hand and then hopefully rest it here on the bump stop perch. There we go. Slide it right off. That'll work. Our next step is to pull this rotor drum assembly off of the studs and the parking brakes that are inside of it. These can get pretty resistant to come off because you get a lot of corrosion here around the hub and stuff. So if you need to bang on it, use a sledgehammer and bang on the drum part of it. That'll break it free, and then you can just shimmy it off like that. Now once it's off, you can see where these studs connect in, and they're actually just pressed in to this single axle flange here. So that's the bad guy, and it's got the stripped threads there, which you can see a little bit closer. And we're going to take a hammer and bang directly on the tip of this and push it right out the back side of this flange. Line it up. Get a good nice swing on there. Yahtzee! Here are the two studs side by side. This is the old one, and then of course this shiny one is the new one. And you can see here they've got these teeth along the sides of them, and those will actually fit into grooves, so you'll have to take an impact to pull these studs into place once you get them set up. So we'll go ahead and drop the old one out, new one's going in, and it's going to slide in just like, well, hold on, just like that, and then we're going to set the drum back on it and put the wheel back on it and impact this thing into place. And you can see here, and I want to mention that the other one that we put in hasn't been pulled in all the way. It is important to get these things sucked in because your ABS sensor is right here, and it's actually getting the reading off of these teeth that are on the axle shaft here, And if this thing's sticking out and contacts that, it may kick on your ABS light. You may have to buy a new sensor. So we're going to want to make sure that these are all the way sucked in. So after we're done impacting, we'll pull the rotor drum back off and check it out and make sure that they're all flush. So what we're going to do is throw this this old rotor right back on. Trying to be careful to not push that stud back in because it's not pulled into place or anything yet. There we go. And we'll actually take one of our old lug nuts, because I've got a new set of wheels and nuts on this, and I'm actually going to pull this into place a little bit right now with this, and then I'm going to put the old wheel back on and use one of my old lug nuts to pull it all the way in. The reason I'm using the old lug nuts is because sometimes it can gum your lug nuts up a little bit, and I'd rather do it with extras than the ones I'm planning on using for daily driving. So if I can get this thing sucked in a little bit here by hand, pull the impact out, get it tightened down. Alright, now to show you really quick, you can see that didn't do a ton. It only pulled it in maybe 1/8 of an inch. But now that it's sturdy in place, we're going to put that wheel on it and pull it in the rest of the way with the impact really quick. So, rotor's going back on again. While we're doing this, I'm also going to hand tighten 2 other lug nuts on the opposite sides of the stud that I'm trying to pull in, just so that I don't, cock that wheel in there sideways or anything. So I'll just tighten these down just a little bit with the impact before I start pulling that one in all the way. So we'll get these 2 set on here.
Probably want the other one too, for the other bolt that's not put all the way in.
Yeah, that's a good point. We'll throw 3 on, just for safe measure. Tighten this down a little bit. Now we can pull this one in with the impact. And we'll do the same with this one since it wasn't pulled in all the way. And then we'll pull that rotor back off again and check them out. I'm going to go ahead and pull this stock tire back off. Never thought I'd be putting this thing on in the first place, but it looks much better with the big ones. We'll check it out, see how far in those studs have been pulled. And it looks like we just need to pull them in a little bit more. I'm always just a little bit cautious because I don't want to, strip a new set of studs, but this one's pretty close. This one needs a bit more. Oh, dang it.
So close.
Okay. Hitting these studs with the impact for those last couple threads, I definitely felt a stopping point on both of them, so I know that they're flush in there. We've got to check anyways because we've got to put that rear caliper back on, but I wanted to show you guys really quick what I was talking about and why I used old lug nuts. When you take an impact and it goes back and forth on the nut enough times, it'll actually swell that cap out. So then that cap gets very hard to put a socket on, and it gets very hard to pull the stinking socket out of it. So now that we're done using this thing, we can just trash it, and I still have my aftermarket lug nuts to use with my aftermarket wheels, and they are unscathed. Sweet, you can see that those are both flush. Okay, now for the caliper, you're going to want to make sure that the brake pads are put back into their supplied hardware in that caliper. You can see these little silver tabs in the caliper. You need the pad to actually slide back and forth within those, so you're going to want to pull them apart and make sure that you've got that original gap set again, because that's where your rotor is going to slide into. So we'll set that up now. On you go. Perfect. And now we'll get those two 18mm bolts in the back put back on, and we'll be done with this part. We just got to throw the tire on. Flip-flops were probably the worst choice for shoes. I think we changed a tire on the trail one time actually when I was wearing flip-flops, and it was at night and we were in a creek.
And somebody had unloaded the tool bag from our Jeep.
And I had no tools.
Thinking it was our tent.
I should just stop wearing flip-flops. But get this thing lifted up. I'm gonna have to bust out some hook strength here. Okay. So I impacted these on very lightly in a star pattern. I don't have a torque stick here, so I didn't want to over tighten them. I'm gonna go ahead and lower the jack down until the tire is just lightly touching the ground, and we're going to go ahead and torque them with the torque wrench to 100 foot-pounds, and then we should be all set. Here we go. That's going to do it for us for today. We've got the lug studs in, they're torqued down, and we're all finished up. If you guys enjoyed our video, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. And you can always find us on our Facebook page, Crawl TV, Instagram, and Twitter, and Snapchat actually. So thanks for watching. Crawl TV. Well, my feet still aren't as wet as they were on that camping trip.
That's true.
And you know what I realized is that that was Kevin and Kelsey that weekend that we went camping with.
Oh my gosh!
So Jeep Video Guy and Jeep Video Girl are the ones that helped us unload and probably pulled our tools out at the same time.
Oh, you think they know better.
Yeah.
That was still a fun trip.
It was a great trip.
That was a lot of fun. 4th of July, hopefully this year too.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny. I hope it wasn't them.
This beer's still really foamy.
Yeah.